What is fired up? Getting your emotions going, getting your feeling going, because again, as we talked about, in your physiology, emotion is meant to radically shift the physiology. So to your point of we're not sniveling in the corner crying, it's like, no, man, to break the inertia barrier of procrastination, you need to get fired up. You need to get pissed off. You need to listen to something like this. You need to put your Eric Thomas on, or your Gary Vee, if that's what you do, David Goggins, find a million and one motivational videos out there, beautiful ones, compilations. Get yourself in that state. And, I keep referencing Tony Robbins. Right? He's like, you got to change your state. You got to get up. You got to move. You got to activate the system. So as far as like actionables here to kind of start tying this all together, it's like you got to break through those barriers, break through those walls that before just were okay with you. And here we are. We are back with another episode of the Ignite the King podcast. Partner in crime, Russell Reynolds. Welcome, brother.
What is up, gentlemen? Welcome, Michael, Dr. Michael Diamond.
That's right. For those of you that are new, it is Dr. Michael Diamond.
He's very proud of those letters.
Well, they were just really expensive, so trying to get as much mileage out of them as possible.
Yeah, right. Don't blame me.
I am not in the loan forgiveness category quite yet. So
yeah, it's funny. My brother in the martial arts, Tracy, who you know well.
Yes.
We've trained martial arts together for 30 years, but his email is, and I don't remember why he did it, Dr. Tracy, and sharing it with one of our other men, Matt, and he said, "What's Dr. Tracy?" Or he said, "What's Tracy a doctor of?" And I said, "Pain." He goes, "That he is."
Yeah, he definitely has a PhD.
PhD in pain.
In the delivery of pain specifically.
Exactly.
The delivery mechanisms.
Exactly. Kind of an export business,
Yeah, I was about to say he's in the transportation business.
Oh, funny stuff.
He will be joining us, I believe, at our upcoming Warrior Immersion in November.
Yes.
I think cat's out of the bag. We love him and want him there. Yeah, it's expected now.
Yeah, we the two of us together, we make sure we bring the heat for the Warrior Immersion, and really
bring the heat too.
Yeah. Yes, you do, sweetheart.
He's habanero. I'm Serrano for sure.
You bring the heat in other ways, I've met, as far as the martial arts.
We have to bring Tracy in to make up for the heat, I guess. That's kind of how I'm with it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we said with Ignite is that when Michael and I formed Ignite is that the warrior is not just some theoretical archetype; it's an embodiment. Right? Oh. We have to embody that warrior energy because, again, if ABR, always be ready. If you're so out of shape you get winded walking up a flight of stairs, can't fight your way out of a wet paper bag. I've said these words before. This is my catchphrase, right? Or if your woman doesn't feel safe to walking next to you down the street because you couldn't or wouldn't protect her, how do you call yourself a warrior? Right? We have to be able, as well as willing, to rise up, to stand up against injustice and to stand up against the evil and the violence in the world today. So we take it seriously.
We do. And, in that vein, we'll just jump right in. It's a physical thing and it's a mindset thing and it's a spiritual thing when it comes to embodying the warrior. Because I think some men out there might hear like, what does that mean, warrior? Like, am I walking down the street with a sword, like being a vigilante? Like, what does that actually mean, right?
The state of Texas, you can, right? I think in
I've
Texas,
seen those machete videos. They freak me out, actually.
Yeah, but like, didn't Texas make it legal to like carry a samurai sword down the street?
I believe it did, actually. I would have to double check on that, but I
haven't seen anybody do it yet. But that's pretty badass.
There's a guy that trots up and down South Congress on his horse, in his full garb, set up. Pretty cool.
Okay.
I'll have to see if he's carrying a sword or a 6-shooter next time. That you are allowed to carry, that's for sure.
Well, since I segued us a little bit of the direction you're going, I have to also, since we're off track, I have to mention what you told me about the guy in the comments about the matching uniforms. It's so good.
Yeah, we are.
So good. So this is the Ignite the King logo is the crown with the flame coming out of it. These are our Ignite the King t-shirts, ball caps. So this is kind of our uniform. And somebody in the comments, what did he say? He's like, "What's up with the matching uniforms? You look like mall cops."
Basically. And I
I
was like,
love
you
it.
kind of do look like a mall cop, Russell. You could
Really. Okay. Not special forces, not tactically a mall cop. So I'm carrying the energy of Paul Blart. Thank you so much.
For those of you listening to the episode and not watching, that is probably 180 degrees from the truth of Russell's embodiment of his physicality.
I need some donuts. I need some donuts to finish my shift.
Well, what we're doing right now actually ties into what we're going to talk about on this episode, procrastination.
Look at that. Well done.
Didn't even mean to do it. It's so insidious.
Yeah, I was going to stop procrastinating, but I'll do it tomorrow.
Which is literally the definition of procrastinate, right?
Tell us, Michael.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a wordsmith and realize that, and we have realized that the words we tell ourselves, the language we use, we call it spelling for a reason. We are putting spells on ourselves and our environment with every word we choose. And often the stories men tell themselves are defeating, deflating, and frankly, depressing. So it's time to
Right.
change our language around things, change the energy we're bringing to things. So yeah, literally. So just to back up for a moment, this episode, building on our last week's episode, is really around procrastination. And embodying this warrior energy means you're going to have to overcome some shit. You're going to have to fight through the pain. You're going to have to overcome all those internal stories, dialogue that tells you, yeah, just put it off to tomorrow. And that is literally the definition, the Latin translation of procrastinate or crastinus. Pro meaning forward or before, and crastinus means of tomorrow. So literally putting off to tomorrow that which could be done today, right? Either through apathy or laziness or conscious just not giving a fuck, which definitely is rampant in our culture today.
yeah, right.
And by the way, what to do about it?
The energy of meh. Right?
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, procrastination is the act of unnecessarily and voluntarily delaying or postponing something despite knowing that there could be negative consequences for doing so.
Yep. So a lot of shadow magician in there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, it just brings the question, why? Why would we do this if we know that there's going to be negative, and it says could be. Let's be realistic. There's going to be negative consequences anytime we procrastinate. You know, and we've said it in other episodes. We all think tomorrow's promised. It's not. You know, that's the great illusion of our time, thinking we got all the time in the world. We can do it later. We can do it tomorrow. And death comes for all of us. We don't know how many days we've got left. So why would we procrastinate? Why would we put this off? I saw something, and I want to hear your take on it, but Mel Robbins had I saw her doing a talk, and she said something interesting, that procrastination is a form of stress management. It's because we're stressed out about the thing that we procrastinate and put it off, or we're stressed out about something else in our life, but usually it's tied to the thing. And in my experience, it's an element of fear. It's not just stress management. I'm afraid of doing this thing. And it could be something as simple as, I know I need to go to the gym. I know I need to clean up my diet, but I don't want to because it's going to be hard and it's going to be painful and I have to be disciplined. And I have to limit what I'm going to be able to eat. And I like being able to eat whatever I want. So I'll just fill my day with lots of busy work. And then, oh man, my time to go to the gym is gone. I'll do it tomorrow. Right? Or it could be, cleaning up your finances. It's a big fucking scary monster. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to look at all the debt that I've created. I don't want to look at, how I'm going to have to deal with this credit card or the IRS or whatever it may be. So I'll procrastinate and come up with lots of busy work. And boy, has social media made that easy to do by design. By design.
I better curtail you right now. He's going, folks. He's going.
Look out! I'm on.
This train is never late.
Yeah. It's not a procrastination. It's not coming from procrastination. It's a different nation.
No nation at all. So can I jump in on this? Because I feel there's like 10 things in what you said where I'm like, okay, we got to break this down. I want to get right to it. Because we want to also bring in the energy here of not procrastinating, like just cutting through the bullshit. So your Mel Robbins thing of pain or of procrastination being a form of stress management.
Yeah.
Here's the interesting or the ironic thing about it is I believe why a lot of men procrastinate is they don't want to feel the pain it's going to take to do the thing, overcome the challenge, break the inertia barrier, whether it's a gym thing or facing the financial numbers or whatever. It's like so painful, but yet, and the immediate short term is like, well, it won't hurt to not do it, right? I could just mitigate the pain, be comfortable. But the pain it actually that builds up as a result of not addressing these things, we have seen pretty much every time is far worse than any of the pain encountered from actually taking action and transformation. And it's pretty true every single time. And I don't think I'm saying anything that's too radical because we've all experienced in our own life to be true, but yet I still fucking do it. You still do it. A lot
Are
of
you
men still do
suggesting
it.
that this could tie into that pain avoidance thing that our society is running on and the total lack of warrior energy that most men are operating from in that whole comfort seeking, pleasure seeking, pain avoidance thing?
I think it might have a connection there, right?
It's possible.
A quote we've often said that we've attributed to Michael Beckwith is pain pushes till vision pulls. And either the pain needs to be big enough or the vision and your why needs to be big enough. And often the pain will push us because the pain, again, will get us uncomfortable enough. But personal growth, men's work, shadow work, self growth, whatever you call it, requires you to take a hard look at yourself and call yourself forward, call yourself out. That's why podcasts like this exist. That's why personal growth groups exist, is because we often won't call ourselves forward, but when others call us forward, then we rise, right? That's what a warrior ultimately, right, is serving the realm, serving the vision of the king, serving something bigger than himself, which is his why, right? And willing to endure the pain to get beyond that. And procrastination is a huge roadblock on the way to that, in my judgment.
Yeah. And I mean, you said it, pain pushes, vision pulls, comfort kills. You know, these are all things we've heard before, because that right in the middle, nothing changes. You know, if you're not being pulled by vision, you're not being pushed by pain, you're just stagnant, and stagnant grows mold, and it's not good. And comfort kills. Comfort is the drug that most of America is addicted to. And you've also heard it said, like, I'm pulling out all the cliches or catchphrases, that there are two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The thing of procrastination is you can distract yourself into believing that you're not going to feel the pain of regret. But guess what, Sparky? It's coming.
Yeah.
And it is so much more painful than the pain of discipline. So much more painful. So I would say, just first, actionable, right? And I know we usually save those for the end of the call, but what are you afraid of? You're procrastinating because you're afraid of something, because you're avoiding something. Is it the change that's going to result from the action you take? Is it the pain and discipline that's going to be required to get to that thing? Is it who you're going to become, or who's going to still love you or leave you? What are you really afraid of that has you procrastinating on doing this thing that you know you need to do?
What I feel from a lot of men is there's a lot of certainty in staying the same. I know you've referenced the 6 human needs often, and even Maslow, whatever framework you want to look at, the need for safety, certainty, is always at the bottom, right? It's always the most important thing. And I saw it in my practice for many years where there were some people that just did not actually want to heal or get well because at least they knew what to expect. There was a certain certainty in the pain. They can rely on it, frankly. It was chronic. It was never going to go away. So, and then, that ties into their story about it and what they make it mean, and their identity gets wrapped up in it. And the strongest need of the human psyche is to be consistent with its identity. So if you take on the story that I am this way or that way because of ... then procrastinating, as an example, would fit the bill, and then you don't have to change. So I want to honor men out there for a moment and say it takes a lot to buck the system in your own sort of physiology and genealogy of this. It really does. So we're not saying it's easy, but it's worth it.
Well, yeah, 100%. And you said a key word there: identity. right? Whatever and again, I don't want to quote Tony Robbins too often, but man has some wisdom and talking
Sure.
about how people will fight to the death to defend their identity,
Yep.
who they believe they are. And I relate personally that growing up with the fear of or the false belief of not good enough, right, which I think affects most people to some level or another. I asked myself why I was settling for just good enough. That's the danger of the not good enough is the being willing to settle for just good enough, right? And I
Definitely
said
can
I was
relate
going
to
to
that
do.
one.
Yeah, I said I was gonna learn to speak French fluently. By the way, when I was going to Paris, I had a immediate need, and I studied my ass off and actually became pretty good within a matter of a couple of weeks. But guess what? Once I got home from that trip, what happened to my French studies? Right out the window.
Poo poo.
Yeah. Was that French? It was good.
No, it wasn't. Don't call me out because that was not.
Poo poo. You said it with a French accent, so I didn't know.
Oh,
So, it's like I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to do that. And why? Why am I willing to settle? And it's because what I became aware of is that it would allow me to rest in the relative comfort and security of complacency, of being just good enough. I didn't have to worry about not being good enough anymore. I'd saved myself from that one, but I didn't have to risk failure from, excelling too far and reaching for the stars and falling flat on my face, whatever it may be. So that procrastination gave me comfort and security in just being average. And when you say it out loud, when I say it out loud, I'm like, ugh, that's disgusting. Why would I ever want to be that? But the brain, remember, the brain is not designed to make you happy. Michael said this on previous episodes. It's designed to keep you safe.
right.
Procrastination is a tool to keep you safe. And let's be honest, man, to keep you small. Whether it's in regards to your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, whatever endeavors you may have. If you're procrastinating, not doing the shit that you know you need to do, you are playing small. And I don't think that's why you came into this arena. I don't think you intended to play small. I don't think, your high school guidance counselor put that as an option on the table. Well, you could just be average and play small your entire life and die with your potential still inside of you. Screw that. Rise up. You need it. Your heart needs it. Your soul, your mission, your family, your woman, whatever it may be, needs you to be the best that you can be. Procrastination is not an option when we make that choice.
Be the best you can be. We got U.S. Army commercials going in here, folks. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you are not one of these guys that is sitting on his ass doing nothing.
Well,
and if you are, here's the call out. You don't
Right.
get to complain about it.
Right.
You don't get to complain that you don't have what you want if you're not willing to do the work. That's the difference in this sort of season or energy of the warrior, of the season of transform, where it's like you got to embody the coherent life force that matches the identity that you are looking to become.
Yes.
Closing the gap between what you know you need to do and what you're doing now, and chipping away at it brick by brick, layer by layer. I think you said it on a previous episode, Russell. You don't go to the gym and try to bench press 500 pounds right off the bat. What can you start with? What can you focus on? Maybe it's the to-do list, and yeah, maybe you start out on the easy ones just to build that momentum, get some real dopamine going. And there's nothing more fulfilling than actually checking something off a to-do list, right?
Right.
But also, it needs to be organized. Don't just dally on the things that are easy and avoid the things that are actually the things you need to get done, and learning the difference. And that's a level up.
Right. Well, and that's why, they talk about start by making your bed when you get up in the morning. Because look, you've already accomplished something. Right. So that's an easy one. The Savers routine that Hal Elrod came up with in Miracle Morning.
Beautiful.
Like that's a great way to accomplish something right out of the gate and sharpen your axe and set the tone of your day right out of the gate. And I'm glad
Shout
you mentioned
out to Hal Elrod, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
The Miracle
Absolutely.
Morning. If you don't know his story, it's on Amazon Prime. called The Miracle Morning. Truly transformational, and what that man has overcome and the movement he's created. Shout out to him.
Yeah. Hal, we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. Come on down.
Absolutely.
IgniteTheKing.com. You can reach out to us, Michael or Russell at IgniteTheKing.com. Anyway, so now everybody's got our emails, and we're going to get the Paul Blart Mall Cop comments delivered directly to us. So, I'm glad you said that about complaining, because there is nothing more disgusting than someone who is procrastinating, has settled, is playing the victim, is not taking the action that they know they need to take to change their circumstances, but just sits around and complains about it and complains about how bad things are. Shut the front door. I'm working on reducing my F-bombs. Shut it.
Need.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Like, stop. Like, nobody wants to hear you whining and complaining about the shit. And bro, I'm raising my hand. Nobody wants to hear me whining and complaining about the things that I'm not willing to do anything to change. Nobody wants to hear it. Either shut the hell up or do something about it.
Right? Here's a question I would ask men to get underneath it, because we do want to provide an opportunity for be like, okay, what's really going on there? Like, what would we say to a man in our group who we see a change he needs to make? He's not doing it, continues to not do it, keeps making excuses. And we get to the point where we ask him, like, okay, what are you getting out of this?
Right.
What are you, like, really, you're getting something out of this, otherwise you wouldn't do it. Is it around worthiness? It is around pleasing? Is it around your identity, who you believe yourself to be or not? What is it?
And when he says you're getting something out of it, when he says what you're getting something out of it, it's a benefit. What benefit? Because people are like, oh, I'm just getting lots of pain and disappointment. No. You're getting a benefit out of this behavior. What is the benefit?
Yeah. And an even deeper question I would ask a man is, what's the story you're telling yourself that makes this behavior okay? Because there's a part of you that knows, I need to fucking do this, but I'm not going to do it. There's a conscious moment where you're like choosing, I'm still not going to do that. What do you tell yourself in that moment that makes it okay? Because you're telling yourself something. And I bet that something is something you say often.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be, again, fear of failure, fear of what other people will think of you, fear of falling on your face. Look, failure is a necessary component to success. It is not the opposite of success. It is a component of success. Right. Nobody has reached a high level of success that didn't fall flat on their face many times. Right? Kevin Costner, great actor, right? Most people would agree. I think he's won Oscars. He's obviously, very accomplished. If you watch his early and one of my when I was actually practicing acting, one of my acting teachers knew him personally. Watch his early work or his early audition tapes. He sucked. He was horrible. But guess what? He just kept going. He just kept going. But then Michael Jordan got kicked off the high school basketball team, ran home, cried in his room. He was horrible, but he was willing to suck at something worth getting good at. And what's the difference? You put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the discipline.
I want to jump on this for a second, because you bring up a really, really important point. I think for a lot of the audience that listens to this podcast is men will start something, and as soon as they hit one ream of failure, or rung of failure, they're out. As soon as they hit that resistance, big goals, big dreams, big aspirations, they go out in the world, someone shuts the door in their face, like, well, I guess that's not for me. And I think we were interviewed on a podcast with Hector Santiesteban, who said that the millennial generation, that's rampant.
Yeah.
He said that we were trained as a generation, if it was hard, then we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, because they're addicted to comfort.
So not to call out a whole generation here, but just to say
all of you.
But we've also seen with the millennials, the achiever and the overachiever, and the other side of the spectrum, and there's a sacred third between the two. But often, and I'll say just humans, men in general, will meet resistance, and then a story gets created. Well, I guess I'm not good at this. I guess I'll just give up. I guess what ... fill in the blank your challenge. But
Right.
there's a certain level of overcoming that kind of the pain pushing till vision pulls statement.
And in my mind, it's not recognizing resistance as the gift. Right? We have to recognize resistance as the gift. Look, when you go to the gym, what are you doing? Resistance training. It's hard. It hurts. You reach a point of failure. That's the fucking idea. That's why you grow. There is no growth without resistance.
Exactly.
Think about it.
Yep.
So when you encounter resistance in your relationship, in your career path, in your whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, don't take it as a sign of failure. Recognize it as a gift. This is where I grow. Whenever you encounter resistance, just say to yourself, this is where I grow.
Can you take this further? And because this word comes up a lot in our group with the men, especially of the millennial age, grinding. So grinding versus resistance, because I think, again, that gets taken to the extreme where it's like an overworking. So can you maybe speak on that a little bit?
Yeah,
Grinding, because
I don't
resistance. Go ahead.
look. I'm not claiming to be the original proprietor of this because I don't remember who I honestly heard say it, but it was brilliant. It's like, when you get, and Gary V, hats off, he's accomplished a lot, but you get all these guys grinding. You got to grind, man. You get to grind every day, up at 4 a.m. and grind and grind and grind. In nature, in physiology, in automobiles, if something's grinding, something's really wrong.
Right.
like if your gears are grinding in your car, you've got a big problem. We're not meant to grind. So this idea that it has to be suffering and grinding and you've got to get into the grind, that's all bullshit. I'm not saying don't try. I'm not saying there's no resistance. Yes, there's supposed to be resistance, but it doesn't have to be a grind where you're wearing yourself down, where you're going against the grain of what's possible, of your own physiology.
Right.
That's not the idea.
Burnout.
Yeah, because that's burnout. It's guaranteed burnout. So I think the idea of grinding is like, look, you know what you're capable of, push a little bit beyond that. And then we rest. You can't sprint a marathon, right? There's moments where you can bust it and sprint, and then you got to take it back down.
Yeah.
Right? And there's rest periods between every set at the gym. Again, using that reference, like that's on purpose. You can minimize the rest period. You can't eliminate it because that grind is going to result in something breaking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is reminiscent of the positive pole of the shadow warrior, of the workaholic, right? Especially for the entrepreneurs out there, where it's like, you're like, if I'm not doing it, no one's doing it. And there are no off 9 to 5s. It's just grind, grind, grind. And I got to make this happen. And that leads to that bully behavior where it's like, just, I'll do anything I can or have to do to get what I want. And that's a dangerous place to live for a long period of time. It's not sustainable. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're talking about two extremes, either complacency and not being willing to go up against any resistance. Ow, it hurt. So you quit.
Right.
And then the other extreme, which is the grinding and I'm going to ignore all the signals. I'm going to ignore the red line on the dash. I'm going to ignore the smoke coming out of the engine. That's not what we're saying either. So there's that, what we call in Ignite, the sacred third. Right. It's not this or that. It's the combination of the two that finds that sacred place in the middle that is synergy.
Yeah. And I think why we bring it together also is that I bet there's places in men's life. I know there's places in men's life where they're like, no, man, I'm on top of my shit. I go to the gym every day. I'm doing all that training and I'm doing this. But yet they procrastinate in their relationship, or they procrastinate in their finances, or they procrastinate. Right. So it's like overcompensation, I guess, in another way.
Yeah. What's the conversation that you're avoiding in your relationship? What's the conversation you're avoiding with the guy you see when you look in the mirror? What are you really procrastinating about? What are you really avoiding? What are you really afraid of? Let's take it back to this. It's like if you're crushing it in business and your bank account is full, awesome. and you're crushing it at the gym. Awesome. Great. What's the part that you're not looking at? What are you procrastinating about? It's like, oh yeah, I'll get to that personal development stuff. I'll get to that emotional shit later. Yeah, that's maybe where you need to pay attention. Because that's where you're really hurting and that's where you're really suffering. And again, sacred third, gentlemen, I'm not talking about becoming some, sniveling little wimp who's crying in the corner all the time. It's just so emotional. That's not what it's about. The warrior is definitely engaged and you do
Emotions
the
are
shit you have to
powerful.
do. But
Emotions. You look at every.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to just jump
Yeah,
on
well,
here.
the
But
warrior has an open heart. That's all I was going to say.
yeah, I mean, look at a locker room before a football game, and the coach gives the inspiring speech and getting the players all fired up. What is fired up? Getting your emotions going,
right?
Getting your feeling going. Because again, as we talked about, in your physiology, emotion is meant to radically shift the physiology. So to your point of we're not sniveling in the corner crying, it's like, no, man, to break the inertia barrier of procrastination, you need to get fired up. You need to get pissed off. You need to listen to something like this. You need to put your Eric Thomas on or your Gary Vee,
David
if that's what you
Goggins
do.
or
David
whatever, yeah.
Goggins,
Yeah.
find 1,000,001 motivational videos out there, beautiful ones, compilations. Get yourself in that state. And, I keep referencing Tony Robbins. Right? He's like, you got to change your state. You got to get up. You got to move. You got to activate the system. So as far as like actionables here to kind of start tying this all together, it's like you got to break through those barriers, break through those walls that before just were okay with you. But if you want something better, you got to be willing to do something better. You got to embody it in the life force that's congruent with the version you are called here to be.
Right. And
That's
I heard
what I have to say.
I heard somebody wise say once that your standards are your floor, your boundaries are your walls, and set a new standard.
Yep.
Right? What's your new standard? David Goggins' standard was being a fat ass laying on the couch eating Cheetos and spraying for roaches making minimum wage, like at one point in his life.
Yep.
And he went, you know what? Enough of this shit. And he stopped procrastinating. Now he's a demigod of discipline.
Pretty much.
But that's designed. He built that version of him. So who's the version of you that you need to build to hit that next level? To break through all of the limitations, to snap the shackles and chains that are holding you back. Because those shackles and chains, I promise you, are not circumstantial. I promise you, it is not about your finances. I promise you, it is not about your social standing. It is all in your mind.
Yep. I love that you still point to your head, by the way, when you think of mind. Haven't I taught you anything, Russell? It's the body mind, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, you get the reference. This is a reference people will get. But if I go all new agey and go, it's in your mind, and wave my hands up and down my whole body, they're like, "What the fuck is with this Fruit Loop?"
Fucking mall cop.
yeah. Okay, Berkeley New Ager. Your body.
I love
fabulous.
your message, man. It inspires me all the time. We've been talking back and forth for many years, and it hits every time. It's like, oh yeah, it wakes me up, and I hope it wakes the men out there up too, because the only thing that's going to go by is time. And as you've said many times, not promised any of us.
Right.
So to quote you again, when is now a good time to get started?
Right. When is now a good time? Yeah. Men, procrastination. It's an agent of the devil, Bobby Boucher. It is evil. It is a tool of Satan. Procrastination is holding you down. It is keeping you small. It is limiting your potential. And that potential, again, when I'm kind of kidding with the devil stuff, but like whatever your religious belief is, God, whatever, however you define him, put that potential inside of you. Again, I've said it before. I'm not the original, person who said it, but our lives are God's gift to us. What we do with them is our gift to God. So however you define your higher power, the universe, God, it's up to you. But to die with that potential still inside of you because you procrastinated, because you played small, because you played it safe, that is the greatest sin I could imagine. And there's none more painful than that. It's been said that the definition of hell is meeting the person that you could have become. don't let that happen to you. Stop procrastinating. Whatever the thing is. Again, probably several things that we procrastinate on, right? Like you may only have one. Awesome. You may have several. Pick one and go, enough, no more. I'm stepping up and I'm doing the hard stuff. I'm leaning in. Warriors lean into the pain. They lean into the discomfort. And I'm going to pick this thing and I'm going to fucking do it. Because I am that guy. I am the guy that gets it done. Say that to yourself and make it happen.
Oh,
okay, my rant is done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end it in that feeling. Thank you for that transmission.
Absolutely.
Remember to like, share, subscribe this, man. Comment. Maybe not the mall cops, but
I
I'd love
love
to hear
that
how this is landing for you. What are you taking away from this? What's that one thing? Have a beautiful day.
Enjoy.